This is Support is Sexy, episode 387, with Kristina Jones, co-founder of Court Buddy. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm super excited to have you here because, as you know, it just would not be the same without you. And if you are a woman who is an entrepreneur, a leader, a creative, a founder, someone who just wants to get her story out, reach more people, reach new audiences, or if you're a podcast host and you want to get in touch with brilliant women who can be guests on your show, I want you to go to girlonpodcast.com. It's a podcast booking service that focuses on women, helping you amplify your voice, connecting women who podcast with women who guest. girlonpodcast.com. Now, today I am super excited to bring you Kristina Jones. Kristina is the co-founder of a great platform called Court Buddy. And Court Buddy connects, again, we're all about connections around here. And Court Buddy is an award-winning service that provides people and businesses with access to an attorney, no matter their financial status. And on the other side, it provides solo attorneys who aspire to have their own law firm with a platform where they can instantly get clients. Brilliant. I love it. And Kristina is co-founder of Court Buddy with her husband, James, and the company just raised $1 million in funding for the business to expand. So they're doing incredibly well. They've moved from Florida to Silicon Valley, as you will hear more about in this episode. But what I really love about Kristina's story, and as you'll hear, it's a thread throughout her story, she talks about not asking for permission. You know, that's the thing that holds a lot of us back in our business and even in our lives. This idea of waiting for permission before we take that first step. And in this episode, Kristina talks about how not waiting for permission and realizing that she didn't have to gave her so much power and really helped them build their business at the speed that they really wanted to. They were able to set the tone because they weren't sitting around waiting for permission, waiting to find out what the next step is. You just take that first inspired action. And Kristina also talks to us about the advantages of being a Black woman in tech. We often hear about the challenges. Kristina's going to share with us some of the advantages. And she also shares with us what she feels was an important part of helping her and her husband secure the $1 million in funding that they got for Court Buddy. Beyond it just being a great platform and a great service for people and continuing to grow, there are some other things to keep in mind for your business as well. And Kristina shares that with us. So I know you're going to love this episode. Tons of great information and such a joy to talk to Kristina. So without further ado, Kristina Jones. So Kristina, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to chat with you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on.
Absolutely. So first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
Oof. The first time I fell in love with entrepreneurship was probably the moment I was sitting at my kitchen counter working on Court Buddy after I had been let go from my full-time job, and I realized I don't have to ask for permission to do anything. That was the moment I fell in love with entrepreneurship.
Now, what was your full-time job before that moment?
I was actually working as an art director at a photography studio, working on the Walmart account. So anything that you see from Walmart was coming out of this studio. It was an excellent job. It was fun. But I was also working on Court Buddy full time as well. And they were going through a merger and, of course, had to let people go. I was luckily one of them.
Luckily, yeah.
Luckily, it was a gift because then I got to dive, full 100% into Court Buddy. And what's funny is I was actually pregnant at the time that I was let go. So that's why I said that was the moment I I realized I loved it because I didn't have to go to a boss and ask, can I leave to go to a doctor's appointment?
Mm-hmm.
I could literally pick up the keys and walk out the door and not ask anyone for anything. That's the moment I was like, I love this.
This can work. Now, how far along first of all, how long were you in that previous position? And then how far along into Court Buddy were you at that time?
So when I was let go, I had been there, I think it was going on 3 years. And we were 3 months into Court Buddy after launching. So 6 months from the idea of Court Buddy, but 3 months from the launch of Court Buddy.
Mm-hmm. So did it help you also not only be glad that you had this freedom, if you will, but also feel good that you had started something before this moment came when you were laid off, that you had your own thing sort of going?
Definitely. I would have probably been freaking out if I had nothing and had to jump into another job. So yeah.
Looking for a job while you're pregnant.
Exactly.
Right. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not necessarily an ideal situation.
Right.
Yeah. I ask that because I know for a lot of women that I talk to, I feel like even if, especially in this day and age when who knows how long you're going to have your quote unquote job, it's not even, I'm going to have this job forever because I'm great at it. You might be great, but then like you said, a merger comes or something else and all of a sudden they have to let people go. So I always try to encourage women, especially, have something else going on that can be there. It doesn't have to be a full-on business. If it's a side hustle, if it's something, just something that you can feel is your own, because that feeling is, I've been through that in media. It can be devastating and nerve-wracking if you don't have something and that's the only thing you're dependent on. Do you think?
Exactly. And it's interesting you bring that up because I sometimes would question, should I have told people at my job what I was working on? Was that part of the reason why I was let go? Because they knew my focus wasn't 100% on the job. But I have no regrets now. I'm so happy I spoke up. I let everyone know what I was doing because, again, it was a blessing that I was let go.
Do you feel like it had anything to do with you telling them?
I'm sure a part of it did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know that feeling too, but like you said, it all works out as it's supposed to. It's like I'm being honest about what I'm doing. I'm still present here, but every company isn't open to that. But I feel like more are becoming open to that though, just because again, the day and times they want people to have something else going on.
Yeah. But I understand. I mean, if my employees came to me talking about, their side project and it seemed like an amazing idea that was going to take off, I'd be questioning, are they really, focused on the job at hand? Do they even care anymore? So.
Interesting. Yeah, my thing is in those situations, maybe you encourage the person then to go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now tell us about how you, even though you were in a full-time job though, where do you think this entrepreneurial spirit came from? Where did you grow up and were there any influences in your life who were entrepreneurs?
Funny you asked that. Okay, so I grew up in Los Angeles, California. And then after my senior year of high school, moved to Florida and was there since January of this year. I actually did not have any entrepreneurs in my life as a role model. In fact, I thought the word entrepreneur was a bad word. I thought it was that side hustler who was selling bootlegs off on the side of the street.
Right.
That's what I thought an entrepreneur was. I think what helped shift my mindset, honestly, was being introduced to shows like Shark Tank. So my concept of entrepreneurs, like being an entrepreneur, sorry, what am I trying to say? The idea of entrepreneurship being a positive word didn't shift until recently. Now I am understanding that entrepreneurs run the world, essentially, that they are some of the most wealthiest, if not the wealthiest people. And so I'm glad shows like Shark Tank are around to kind of open people's eyes to this opportunity. And then also just having James, my co-founder, around to essentially educate me on this whole world. He's definitely been like a mentor to me. He's not only my co-founder, he's my husband, but he's also, I see him as my mentor, so.
Amazing. Now tell us then about the origins of Court Buddy and when he brought the idea to you and you felt like it was a good idea and you two started working on it. Where does it come from?
So 2012, we got married, and a few months later, he was actually let go from his firm, and a friend of his approached him, while he was in the midst of trying to find another job at a law firm, and said, wait a minute, you have clients that absolutely love what you do for them. Why don't you think about doing your own, opening up your own firm? And so thankfully his friend convinced him that that's the way to go. And I don't think he had found a job quite yet. So it was kind of like, well, I have nothing else to lose, so let's try this. From that experience and him working out of the courthouse in Miami and just seeing how many people on a daily basis were walking in without representation, that's when it started to kind of make him question, well, why don't they have representation? Well, at the same time, I'm hearing all of my colleagues, including myself, struggling to find clients. And he would tell me about, what he was seeing, the conversations he was having in the courthouse. And then it just became this question game. Well, why can't they approach attorneys? Why aren't attorneys reaching out to these people in the courthouses? And just kind of answering those questions along the way, we realized that there was a huge opportunity that, no one had figured out yet. So that's kind of how the idea of Court Buddy came about. And what I think about all the time is I love the fact that we just went for it. We didn't just talk about it, say, oh yeah, that would be a good idea, and then just go on with our daily lives. The fact that we came up with the idea, instantly went to see if Court Buddy was available. It was. We purchased the domain, and we just started working on it. The next day I was working on logos. We were working on the business plan. We literally just started. And I think, I look back and I'm like, I'm proud of us for that moment.
I'm proud of you too, and I think that's such a big and important, I should say, thing to mention. And for people to hear, we talk about it all the time, the importance of just starting. But I think you're the perfect example of that. You have the idea. Your husband discovered a pain point. And then I love what you mentioned about he just started asking questions. I talk about that, living the question. Just start asking yourself and other people the question and find out more and more. And then taking the inspired action, which you both did. You just start.
Yes.
And I feel like it always starts with a domain. You got to buy the domain, right?
Right.
It's like I bought the domain, and then it's like the domain is when you're really like buying real estate. Gonna put
exactly.
It down. I love it. So what was it when you first heard the idea, or you both first started talking about it? What do you think it was that made you both say, we should do this, or now is the time?
To be honest with you, I don't think we both said, this is 100% going to work. Mm-hmm. We just literally, it's like our feet just started moving without us putting in the effort to move. It's hard to explain. Like, there wasn't someone who told us you should start. There wasn't, a clear answer that this was even going to work. We literally just started putting one foot in front of the other and learned along the way. This whole process has been just a learning experience for us.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like, or do you feel like, and I often say this, once you do take that first step, the next step will reveal itself? Sometimes we want to see the whole way, right? But like you said, you're learning in the process.
100%. Right. And I remember there was one moment we were both on the couch. Gosh, I remember this moment like it was yesterday. The lights were dim in the living room, and I kept asking James, should we talk to someone? Like, should we get a mentor? Should we figure out, like, how do we really do this? And I remember James kept saying, I don't think there is a correct answer. I think we just have to start, try, and see what happens. And now looking back, that was 100% correct. This was an idea that no one had pursued before, so no one really knew what would happen. It's not like there was a book that would have clearly said, okay, next step is to, you know, there was no book. There was nothing to go off of. We're essentially writing the book now for ourselves.
You are the blueprint.
Exactly.
So tell us then what ended up, how did Court Buddy evolve, and what does it do as a platform now?
Yeah, so what's interesting is it's still doing what we created it to do in 2015. And so the goal was to create a very easy to use system that allowed clients to get matched with solo attorneys based on the client's budget. So what the site does is it will match clients for civil, criminal, or business needs, and it breaks down the needs into a la carte items, so single court appearances, single document drafting, and then the client is able to select a price range that they can afford, and once they select that, then they're matched with with an attorney that has already said that they would take that rate.
And how do you find the attorneys to be a part of the platform? Do attorneys sign up just as clients sign up or go to the site?
Yeah, exactly. The same exact process. They're answering the same questions that the clients are answering, so that it's a clear match. The attorneys aren't just getting random clients that are just looking for, any attorney. They're getting exclusive, specific clients that fit their needs as well.
So like the attorney's area of expertise is taken into consideration, and then, as you mentioned, price and that kind of thing.
Exactly. They're allowed to select whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was the first step to letting attorneys and clients know about your product?
Good question. So on the client side, well, first there was that chicken or egg scenario. Well, like, do we get the attorneys first or do we get the clients first? And it really was based off of the business model we had at the time. We were charging the attorneys a monthly subscription, which meant they were paying the second that they landed on the site. So that caused us to have to go running for clients right away. And the first round of clients that landed on our platform, I'm pretty sure came from us going to the courthouse and introducing ourselves to the staff at the courthouse, that's where the idea came from. We knew that they were there. So we went back to the origin and introduced ourselves to the library staff, gave them our cards, and we instantly started seeing action on the site.
It's so smart, going back to where it all started.
Right. You can wrap your head around, like, where should I start? Where should I start? Go back to where you even had the idea in the first place.
Right. Go back to where the pain point was. Go back to the source of the pain.
Right.
So what? Go ahead.
Oh no! And then I was going to say, on the client side, it was just James reaching out to his network, and that's how we started on that side.
And this was in 2012 when you first started it?
No, 2015.
2015.
We had gotten married in 2012.
Oh, right. Got married in, okay,
Mm-hmm.
2015. So you started seeing activity right away. Was there a point when you felt like this is really working, like we're on to something? As you said, when you first started, it was just sort of, this is an idea, we both are into it, let's hit the ground running. Was there a point when you feel like, or has that point passed, I hope so, where you feel like this is working?
Yeah, I think when we won our first business pitch competition, And a part of that was a People's Choice Award. So the community was allowed to select their top idea. After winning that, we got some press around it. And then we started to quickly see inquiries from other states. I think that's the moment where we were like, oh, this isn't just a local thing. Mm-hmm. Like, from our research, we knew it was not just a local, not even a national, but a global issue. But actually having people reach out to us, asking, begging for the platform to be opened in their location, that's, I think, the moment where I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Let's go. So when you started local, so it was just a platform, or the people, I should say, you focused on were in Florida at that time?
Exactly, in South Florida.
Florida.
And then I think once we won that business pitch competition, we started getting inquiries in the northern part of Florida. So we opened it up there, quickly started seeing some action. And then I think the next states that started showing interest, it was Texas and California came next. And those were two great markets for us.
Huge states.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have to do something differently to open up in different states? Or is it just, when you say open up to them, is it just allowing them to have access to the platform, or what's different state to state?
Well, we do have to check, of course, the regulations with each state's bar, because what we're doing is essentially what they call in the legal industry unbundled services. So allowing an attorney to appear for a single court appearance versus having the attorney stay on for the whole case. And that is just now becoming popular, which is great timing for Court Buddy. So we just have to make sure that the jurisdictions within that state allow attorneys to appear for single court appearances. But so far in every state we've been in, there hasn't been an issue. Mm-hmm. So that's just turning it on and letting the people come.
Excellent. Knock on wood. Keep that going.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things you mentioned was winning a pitch competition, and I wanted to ask you about the several awards. That's just one of many that you all have won. I have written down here the 2017 Lewis and Brown Select Award for Legal Access from the American Bar Association, a 2017 Silicon Valley Forum's inaugural Women in Tech Award, go you, and the 2016 American Entrepreneurship Award, as I said, just to name a few, so people can go to the website, courtbuddy.com, right, to see everything else that you all have done. But in doing that, do you think it's important for startups overall to enter these competitions? Because I think sometimes people miss out on that.
100%. That is your PR. That is your funding. That is everything when you start out. That's essentially your platform to show your community, or if it's a global competition, what you're working on for free. Well, some competitions you have to pay, but majority are free to enter. So it's like, why not give it a shot? And just like you get validation from your customers, I think it's really important to get validation from the startup community and also just the community in general. And it's a great way to let people know about your product.
Do you feel like also, even if you don't win, that it's important to do? Because sometimes I think people go into it too thinking, oh, we didn't win, it was a waste of time. But as a finalist, or even just, I think, even as a participant, you never know who's watching.
Exactly. Or even the partnerships that can come from it. And there may be another business that may be interested in purchasing, like acquiring you. You never know. You never know. In fact, there was a moment, I think after the Miami Herald's business competition that we won, we were finalists for everything. And it was kind of like, are we ever going to win?
Right.
But we kept going. And there was one, the American Entrepreneurship Award, which was the first prize that came with funding. It was a interest-free loan. But we were at a moment where we're like, okay, is this becoming a distraction doing these? Like, should we keep trying? In fact, we got to the interview portion, and James and I were even like, do we even feel like going to the interview? Like, we're over just being finalists. And I feel like going through that motion, even though we didn't want to, we won. We got our first bit of money in, and that changed the game for us. Just having that award, being able to share that award, having the names associated with that award, and just the people we met just through the process. I mean, James and I we believe that you should be kind to everyone you meet. And through being kind to everyone, it's the one person that you think, oh, this is, just someone who's, pushing papers. You never know who other people know. Mm-hmm. So we always say you have to be kind to everyone, because they will remember that and they will try to help you as much as they can. And with that entrepreneurship award, American Entrepreneurship Award, we had so many people just trying to help us. And they did. So with the AEA, there was a gentleman named Xavier who was running the whole process, and he had gone through 500 startups and was one of the people who introduced us to the idea of going through a business accelerator. And because of his connection to 500, it's one of the reasons why we even got in, because they are very, very supportive of their network. So when you know someone who has gone through the program, who 500 respects, it makes it an easier process for them to accept you. And that was our first, I would say, institutional funding through Court Buddy, and that's what brought us to San Francisco, which started our fundraising goals to even get to where we are now. So again, like you said, just try everything. You never know that one thing. It's the one thing that you think isn't going to work that usually works. Exactly.
Or when you're about to quit and you're so close, if you just keep going.
Exactly. And you hear it all the time, but it's so true.
It's so true. Now, how do you all determine, if you're still entering things now, how do you determine which competitions, for people listening, might be best for you? Is it just based on your industry? Do you look at what the award or that kind of thing is, or the connections? How did you go about considering a lot of the things that you do go for?
So in the beginning, I feel like it was just anything and everything, just to get the word out. Now we have to probably be a little more strategic, just because, again, now it is about partnerships. It is about validation. So, of course, things in our industry would make complete sense. And at one point it was for funding. We have successfully raised our seed round. So now that is not really a focus. Now it's on growth for us. So probably we'd enter competitions that would help us with those efforts.
Do you share how much your seed round was?
Yeah, it was $1 million.
Awesome, Kristina. That's fantastic. And
Thank you.
That's a monumental, actually, because so few, or too few, I should say, not so few, too few tech companies, especially started by or co-founded by Black women or people of color, get that kind of support. So it's a huge feat. So congratulations.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you.
So did the raising of the money become easier? Because as you mentioned, you all were well, first of all, we talked about just start. If you hadn't started, you wouldn't be at this point. But also the fact that you, again, were not afraid to enter these competitions and just be out there. So do you feel like the importance of, again, that you were able to raise this money because, again, you just started, but also the fact that you were entering these competitions and it led to these connections?
Oh, 100%. Again, doing that one competition that we thought, let's just give up now. We're just becoming finalists. We're not really winning. It was that one effort that, changed everything, that got us to San Francisco to even have a successful raise. So, yeah. Excellent.
So how big is your the company now, you and your husband, and did you build a team out of it now?
Yeah, so the fundraising was to help build our team. So we have 2 full-time staff now on the support side for clients and attorneys. We're now looking for a head of growth, and then we need to bring a local senior developer now because our tech team's still in Florida. So
I see.
We need someone local.
So it's a website, obviously, but is it also an app that you can use on your phone, or is it just a mobile site?
So it's a site. We do have an app, but that is to support communication. So it's a messaging app. Okay. So once you are a member and you've been matched with an attorney, or you're an attorney who you're looking for clients, the app will then support your efforts with communicating back and forth. So you can chat. You get instant notifications when you have a new message. You can video chat, which is great for remote working. Or even for remote locations. There are some clients that don't have access to the large cities, so this is a way for them to have access to attorneys that are closer to the courthouses if, say, they can't get to the city.
And is your business model still that the attorneys pay subscription fees? Or have you changed it some since the beginning?
So we did change it a bit. And again, lessons as you go. Mm-hmm. So when we first started, the attorneys could only pay monthly memberships. We then realized, okay, let's try another model where they pay per client we bring them. And that would essentially allow them to not pay anything until we actually bring them a client. So that way they weren't expecting something the second they sign up. We had time to deliver the product to them. So that helped as we were growing in new areas to try to figure out, the marketing in the specific area. But we noticed quickly that the attorneys didn't want to pay per client, even if it didn't work out. So now we have gone back to the monthly, now that we've kind of tweaked our advertising strategy and we know what works in every single city, so we can quickly get an attorney matched with clients. But we have also introduced a free membership, which I remember when we started, I kept hearing the freemium model, the freemium model, the freemium model, and I was like, well, the freemium model doesn't, again, it's just starting as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. When you don't have funding, and we were in a state in Florida, revenue is extremely important to stay alive. So when I heard freemium, I'm like, we're delivering a product. No one's going to get this for free. Right. But I quickly realized to scale, you do need to play with a freemium model. So we have now introduced that on the platform.
So what did that end up looking like? Is it free for a certain amount of time or up to a certain number of clients?
So they get one free match a month.
Oh, nice.
And then they get turned off from all client matches until they upgrade. And
on the client side, do I pay through CourtBuddy, or I still pay the attorney directly?
No, so we secure the funds for the clients. Okay. So we have a product called CB Direct Pay. And it's essentially an escrow account. So you pay into the escrow account, and we actually hold the funds for the client until the attorney has accomplished the task.
So CourtBuddy is very much in touch with the attorney, well, with both throughout the process. It's not just something that you put up and you just have going. You guys are very much in touch with everyone working through the site.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I love it.
And what's great is for the attorneys, we saw a study. The number one issue solo attorneys have, number one, is getting clients, but number two is collecting fees. So with CB Direct Pay, they don't start until we've collected the fees for them. So they don't even have to worry about that, which is a huge win for attorneys.
Right, especially I would imagine solo attorneys, people who are just starting their firm. Right, you're waiting on
and it's just
money.
Them.
Right, and they have to spend their time chasing down money instead of clients. That's excellent. Yeah. Another pain point. Excellent. So now what would you say, now that you've been through this for the past couple of years and just had magnificent growth in the past couple of years, what would you say the most valuable lesson you've learned with launching a tech startup?
Ooh, good question. The most valuable lesson. Number one is you don't have to ask for permission. I think that's been the biggest lesson for me, is we can do and try whatever we want. And it's up to the customer to tell us, not really liking that. And then you make adjustments, but you don't have to ask for permission to start anything, to do anything. I come from advertising. I was so used to having to present my ideas to creative director. Now, if I have an idea, I put it out there. That, I think, has been the most rewarding and the biggest lesson for me.
What do you feel like, or do you feel like anything has changed as far as permission now that you have investors to also work with? Because I know some startups or small companies talk about there sometimes is or has to be some need for a bit of a change in culture once you're working with, investors.
To be honest, our group of investors are pretty amazing.
Great.
Yeah, I have never felt any pressure to have to change anything that we're doing. Of course, they're very supportive. They're always checking in, asking how they can help. So yeah, no, nothing has changed just because we have investors. Of course, our goal now is to not only help our customers and clients succeed, but now it's also to help our investors succeed as well. And I love that challenge. Mm-hmm. Like, bring it on. Let's do this.
You like a challenge. That's just who you are. I can tell. I love it. Do you feel like your move was very important to the success of your business as well as a tech company from Florida to San Francisco?
1,000%. Oh my goodness, yes. Just the ecosystem here is startups, startups and funding. I feel like that's all that San Francisco is. So just meeting other entrepreneurs that are, going through that same grind, and just the access to capital is all here. Not to knock Florida, it will happen there. It's just not going at the rate that, would have helped us. And I mean, I would love to eventually, when I get to the point of maybe being an angel investor, giving back to entrepreneurs in the Florida region, Miami region, but just at this point, it's just the ecosystem isn't there. So it would have taken 10 times longer if we would have stayed.
Right. And that's what I wanted to mention, that because I think sometimes some of us, I did an interview, I guess a few weeks ago now, this woman, Heather Havenwood, who's an author and serial entrepreneur. And she said the best advice she got from a mentor was, you're not a tree, you can move. And he said it's called U-Haul. And he was talking about her feeling stuck. Was she in Florida? I don't want to put it on Florida. She was somewhere, I can't remember, but she was somewhere where she felt he told her basically you can move. And she moved to, I think maybe Austin or somewhere where she wanted to be, as you spoke about, in an environment that made sense for her and her business. And we talked about the importance of not being afraid to do that, feeling like for whatever reason, I'm from here or this is where my family is or whatever, we feel stuck. But sometimes you got to move. You
have to move. I mean, you know what that feels like. You've been through what your environment currently is. So nothing is going to change. It's getting out of that situation that propels growth. So, 100%. I am, any of my friends who are like, I'm thinking about moving, I'm like, go. Right. Do it. You're not a tree. You can move. Exactly. I love that.
What challenges, if any, would you say that you face being a Black woman in tech? And if there are any, how have you overcome them?
I feel like I get this question a lot, and to be honest, I actually think being a Black woman in tech is an advantage. Every time I walk into the room, I'm 90% the only African American woman in the room. And I love that. Mm-hmm. I look around and I'm like, oh, wow, everyone has to compete with each other. I stand out. Right. My presence. Exactly. Let me tell you who I am. I absolutely love it. And I do think it's helped me. I mean, number one, I'm an outgoing person. I love to talk and smile at everything and everyone. So I think that also helps break down any barriers that
Confidence
may
as well.
come. Yeah, yeah. But I absolutely love being in an environment where I look different than everyone.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is something that you wish you knew about either the startup, being a startup, or the technology space before you started? Is there something that you either wish you knew or that you would share with someone else who's just entering those industries?
That's a good question. Do you mind repeating it one more time?
Yeah, sure, no problem. What would you say is something that you wish you knew when you first started out, either in the tech space or startups overall? Or what is something that you would want to share with someone else based on what you know now? Say I'm just coming into either industry and there's one piece of advice that you definitely want to give me.
I think the fact that there is no rule book. Also that it's a big mystery for everyone. Everyone is trying to figure out their own product market fit, their own business model. So you can't get stuck on trying to perfect something. You just got to try it and quickly adjust if it's not working. I think that's one of the biggest things I have learned. Let's see. And also not to get caught up in what other people are doing. I think, like that Instagram effect.
Right.
Like I mean, literally, I can catch myself on Instagram for almost an hour, and I almost have to stop and be like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't propelling me. Like,
there's been studies showing that it has literally physical effects on some of us.
Yeah.
Not good.
So even in business, like, stop looking around. Like, put your head down, put on your headphones and grind out what you're working on. Don't worry about anyone else. Their fate is their fate and yours is yours. So keep working on what you're doing. So
what is your long-term vision for Court Buddy? Where do you see it going?
World domination. No.
Domination, I believe you.
Honestly, to become a household name. This service is I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's needed. And I feel like so many people have yet to learn about Court Buddy, so I just can't wait until it's, you need an attorney? Go to Court Buddy, you know?
Like people talk about LegalZoom for other legal services. Yeah.
And I know it will get there. It's just, like I said, grinding it out until we get there. But also not just being a company in the States. Time and time again, when we meet people from other countries, they tell us it's the same issue with access to justice in their countries. So as we're developing relationships with people in other countries, I can't wait to see Court Buddy, Court Buddy Africa, Court Buddy Asia, Court Buddy Europe. So.
Is access to justice one of the phrases that you use in your business?
Yeah, it is. Just because
super powerful.
Yeah, it's a phrase that has been around for a while and people instantly connect with and can understand. So
yeah, absolutely. That totally resonated with me when you said it. Access to justice. Yeah, excellent. So what does your support network look like, Kristina?
Good question. I'm going to take it back some. I have always wanted like a powerful African-American woman mentor that I could just call on every, whenever I needed advice about something. That has yet to happen. Actually, I take that back. 100%, because along this process, I am meeting some phenomenal Black entrepreneurs that are becoming my support network. So maybe that was my old vision, and this is the reality. Monique Woodard of 500 Startups has been, even though she might not know this, she's been a huge, huge role model for me. When we first came to San Francisco, we didn't know anyone. We didn't know this ecosystem. And we had heard stories that it was going to be hard, being African-American entrepreneurs looking for funding. And she quickly showed us the scene, told us what we needed to know, where we needed to go, who we needed to speak with. So just off the top of my head, Monique Woodard has been 100% a great mentor here in San Francisco. And just through podcasts, I mean, I'm sure we're going to connect later.
I'm not letting you go.
Share advice and stories, and I love it. I've just connecting with other entrepreneurs. I'm an open book. I love it. Come, call me, talk to me, ask me, tell me about your idea, and I'll tell you my ideas to help you grow and expand and acquire customers. Like, I love this. So. Oh,
that's excellent. We're going to have to do some events or something and get you speaking to more women, talking about your own journey and giving their advice. Great. I'm committed to that. I'm in on that. Now, Monique is, you said she's what part of 500 Startups?
So she is with the investment team. She was brought on to get funding for minority entrepreneurs through 500.
That's awesome. I just love women supporting women. That's what I'm all about. Yes. So whoever it is, right? Whatever we look like, just the fact that there's a way for us to support each other and move each other through whatever the process is.
Right.
So what would you say entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
Oof. The number one thing, again, is you don't have to ask for permission. 100%. We can do whatever we want to do.
As good as the boys.
And oh, yeah, even better. And even if we do get a no, that's okay. Just find a workaround or ask the next person. And I'm sorry, I take that back. Don't even ask the next person. Just do it.
Just do it. Exactly. So in closing, what would you say if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally? Who would that be, and what would you say to them?
Oh, wow. Oof. I mean, if I don't say my mom. Actually, two people come to mind. Number one, my mom, because she allowed me to do and try everything. She never told me no. She always supported any crazy idea, any crazy activity. And I thank her for that. I think that's where my fearlessness comes from. Knowing that I can try, see if I like something, and if I don't, move on to the next. And then there was a vocal coach at a musical theater school I went to was I in high school? His name was Mr. Coley. And I'll never forget, it was the very first day of classes, and they split everyone up into different groups that you were going to stick with throughout the whole semester. And I noticed I was placed into, let's say, the middle group. But yet the people whose talents I felt were in line with mine were in the higher group, we'll say. And I'll never forget, I saw Mr. Coley storm down the hall, tell the staff, like, you've made a mistake. Kristina deserves to be in the higher group. And he came into my class, took me out, and told me, look, I believe in you. I fought for you. Go in that other classroom. And I had never had anyone fight for my abilities and my skills like that ever. I mean, I was probably like 14 years old. But in that moment, it taught me to believe in your capabilities, to not let someone tell you where you stand in life, essentially. If you know you can do something, you need to fight for it and be where you belong, essentially.
I got goosebumps as you were telling that story because I just think about a young Kristina at that point, but seeing someone, and all little girls, just having someone advocate for you in that moment, it can be a life-changing thing, as you are illustrating here, because you remember that moment, the difference between that and being told to be in this other class and feeling like you're a lesser than. It could go a totally different direction. Exactly.
And I mean, in that moment, I mean, you're all the insecurities. I mean, sheesh.
Right.
We all remember being 14 years old, and just for someone to validate and make you validate yourself like, right. Yes, I do belong in that class. That was a game changer for me.
Oh, I love it. That's a great story. So now tell us how we can support you. Tell everyone how to find out more about Court Buddy. Of course, I'll have links to everything, but where can we find the website and social media?
Yeah, so it's courtbuddy.com, and it's Court Buddy Inc. on all social media. So you can just search Court Buddy INC. And if you want to reach out to me personally, if you have questions, if I can support you in any way, you can reach me at kjones, JONES, at courtbuddy.com. And
it's fine for me to give that out and link to it?
Yes,
excellent.
Please.
Thank you. So everyone, not everyone, but if you have a question, let me rephrase. We have listeners in 130 countries, so not everyone, just a few folks, but reach out to Kristina, tell her that you love this episode and ask her a question. I always say, when I listen to tons of podcasts, and when people give their emails, for the most part, I will email them, even if just to say that I appreciated what they shared, but you just never know what kind of advice they can offer or just being in touch with people. So when they give their information out, especially on a public platform, I think it's always good to reach out, and especially if it makes sense for you to ask her a question. So she's been very kind and open and generous in offering that. So thank you, Kristina, for this and your conversation and just giving us all the insights of a tech startup.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Now, before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything?
Oh. Good question. I want it to be good.
That takes time.
All right, I think I have something.
Okay.
Get out of your head.
What does it mean to get out of our heads?
I feel like we are the only ones that are able to manipulate thoughts, manipulate situations, and it all starts in the mind. Sometimes that can hinder our success. So get out of your head.
Excellent. Kristina, thank you so much. Hold on just a second. All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Kristina. To get in touch with her, to find out more about what she's up to email her. And, I will say real quick before I give out the website, if you feel like you connected with Kristina, that you want to talk to her, get in touch with her, ask her a question, tell her that you loved hearing her on the Supported Sexy podcast, make sure you email her. I'm one of those people, if I listen to a podcast, if someone gives out their email address, someone that I feel connected to, or I may have a question of, or if I just want to tell them thank you for the information they shared, if they give out their email address, I send an email, as long as I'm not driving, of course, as long as it's safe to do so. But I send an email. Get in touch with people. You don't have to ask them to be your mentor or anything like that unless you want to, but just reach out. Get into the habit of reaching out when people give you their email and it's someone that you either have an interest in what they're doing, or you have an interest in what they've done, or you have an interest in asking them a question directly that relates to your business. But I encourage you, don't flood Kristina, as I said in the episode, but reach out to her and any of the other women that you hear on the podcast, even if it's just to let them know that you appreciate what they shared. Now, that said, to get all of the contact information and links and all the great stuff about Kristina and Court Buddy that you heard in this episode, please go to supportissexypodcast.com and just search Kristina, Kristina. Her show notes page will pop up with the links, the resources, and all the ways to get in touch with her. Supportissexypodcast.com. Go to that search icon at the top and just type Kristina. All right, so I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening, whether you email me or not. I'm so happy to have you here. As I always say, it would not be the same without you. What I'd love for you to do is make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps the podcast. It helps more people learn about it. Please share it if you love an episode. Email it to someone. Post it on social media. I'm really excited about continuing to grow this year. I just feel it. It's going to continue to grow, but I love having you here, and I would love for you to share if you love the show. All right. So again, thank you so much for being here. And until we chat again, never forget, you deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.